Imagine for a moment that every decision you've made in the past year, every yes and every no, was a choice between comfort and greatness. Now, I want you to ask yourself a hard question. How many of those choices were made for yourself, and how many were made to avoid risk, criticism, or discomfort? Too often we settle for what's easy because it feels safe. We stay in jobs we tolerate, relationships we compromise in, and lives that are okay but not extraordinary. And here's the truth. Life isn't waiting for you to be comfortable. Your potential is screaming for you to step into it, to challenge yourself, and to choose what lights you up from the inside, not what feels convenient from the outside. Every day you are faced with countless choices, some big, some small, and yet most of us don't even stop to realize the impact of the decisions we make. We move through life almost automatically, reacting to circumstances, following routines, listening to the voices of other people, and rarely pausing to ask ourselves whether we are making the choices that serve us, the choices that lead us closer to the life we truly want. So much of what we do is conditioned, choices shaped by fear, by comfort, by the approval of others, by the avoidance of conflict, by the desire to fit in, by the ease of taking the path everyone else is walking down. And the irony is, we all know deep down that these easy choices, these comfortable compromises, are the very things that keep us from becoming the person we're capable of becoming. Awareness of choice is not just a philosophical idea, it is a practical, life-changing power. The moment you become conscious of every decision you make, you begin to see the patterns in your life, the moments when you said yes to what you didn't want and no to what you needed. You begin to see the times when fear, doubt, or laziness dictated your path instead of your own vision and desire. Most people never develop this awareness because they are too busy reacting, too busy doing, too busy worrying about what everyone else thinks. They don't realize that their life is the sum of these thousands of tiny decisions, and each one carries weight. Every choice you make, even the ones that seem insignificant, is a vote for the kind of life you are creating. When you choose to wake up early, when you choose to push past discomfort, when you choose to face your fears, when you choose to speak up, when you choose to put in the work that others avoid, you are telling the universe and yourself that you matter more than temporary comfort. Awareness of choice also means recognizing the excuses that try to justify inaction, the stories we tell ourselves about why now isn't the right time, why we aren't ready, why it's safer to wait. These stories are invisible chains, and the first step to breaking them is noticing them, naming them, and refusing to let them dictate your behavior any longer. Awareness gives you the power to pause in the middle of a reaction and ask, is this choice moving me toward who I want to be, or is it just convenient? Awareness allows you to stop blaming circumstances, to stop giving power to external events, and to take responsibility for every outcome in your life. It's the moment when you start seeing that life isn't something that happens to you, it's something you actively create through the choices you make in every hour, every day, every week, every year. And once that awareness becomes real, once you truly see the freedom and responsibility that comes with it, you begin to make choices that are aligned with your values, your purpose, your goals, your growth, and your happiness. Too often we live our lives prioritizing everyone else, our families, our friends, our bosses, our responsibilities, and somewhere along the way we forget the most important person in the equation, ourselves. Choosing yourself is not selfish, it is necessary. It is the act of acknowledging that your dreams, your growth, your potential, and your fulfillment are just as important as anyone else's. When you make a commitment to yourself, when you place yourself at the center of your own life with love and responsibility, everything changes. You start to realize that you cannot pour from an empty cup, and that if you are constantly giving your energy, your focus, and your life force to everything and everyone else, there will be nothing left to build the life you truly desire. Choosing yourself is about honoring your goals, your passions, and your purpose, even when the world says you should settle, even when the voices around you tell you that your ambitions are unrealistic, or even when fear whispers that you're not ready. It's about stepping into the truth that you deserve to live a life that excites you, challenges you, and makes you feel alive. When you prioritize yourself, you begin to see the opportunities that were invisible when you were constantly distracted by obligations that don't serve you. You begin to hear your own voice, your own intuition, and your own desires clearly. And that clarity allows you to make decisions that align with your authentic self. This is not about arrogance or entitlement, it's about empowerment. It's about recognizing that your life is yours to design. And the only way to make that design extraordinary is to put yourself at the forefront. Choosing yourself also means setting boundaries, saying no to what doesn't matter, and saying yes to what fuels your growth. It means letting go of the guilt that comes with prioritizing your needs, because the truth is that when you rise, you lift everyone around you. You cannot create impact, you cannot inspire, and you cannot lead unless you are first fully engaged in your own life. And here's the real magic. When you commit to choosing yourself, you begin to operate from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. You stop chasing approval, validation, or acceptance from others because you recognize your worth is inherent, not dependent on someone else's perception. You start making bold moves, taking risks, and stepping into discomfort because your allegiance is to your own growth and vision. Every decision you make becomes a statement that you are willing to invest in your own greatness, to honor your potential, to refuse mediocrity, and to embrace the life you were meant to live, even if it means leaving the familiar behind and walking into the unknown. Fear is the single greatest obstacle standing between who you are today and who you could become tomorrow. It shows up in so many forms: fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough, fear of losing what is familiar, fear of stepping into the unknown. And most of us allow it to dictate the decisions we make, the risks we take, and the life we live. We hide behind excuses, rationalizing why it's safer to stay small, why it's EAs. Ear to remain comfortable, why now isn't the right time, when in reality, fear is just a signal that we are about to grow. The irony is that fear is not the enemy. It is a compass pointing directly to where we need to go. Every time you feel that tightness in your chest, that hesitation in your mind, that whisper telling you to turn back, you are standing at the threshold of your next level, your next breakthrough, your next version of yourself. Overcoming fear is not about eliminating it, because fear will never disappear. It is about acknowledging, confronting it, and choosing action in spite of it. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is taking the first step even when fear is screaming at you to stop. Courage is moving forward even when your mind is telling you to retreat. Courage is saying yes to yourself when every part of you wants to say no. And the beautiful truth is that fear diminishes in the presence of action. The more you move, the more you do, the more you face the very things that scare you, the smaller fear becomes, until it is no longer a barrier but a guide. Fear also teaches you something vital. It exposes the areas in your life where you are hiding, where you are not living fully, where you are avoiding your potential. The moments that scare you the most are the moments where the biggest growth waits. Every great achievement, every transformative experience, every meaningful life begins on the other side of fear. And the only way to get there is to step through it. You must shift your mindset from fear as a stop sign to fear as a signal that you are alive, that you are stretching, that you are on the edge of something extraordinary. And the first step toward overcoming fear is ownership. You must stop blaming circumstances, people, or luck, and take full responsibility for your feelings and your actions. You must decide that you will not let fear control your destiny, that you will not let uncertainty paralyze you, that you will not settle for a life of mediocrity when you are capable of greatness. Every time you confront fear, every time you refuse to let it dictate your next move, you build momentum, you build confidence, you build a life that is not limited by hesitation but defined by courage, resilience, and relentless commitment to yourself. Growth is not a destination, it is a lifelong commitment, a constant process of stretching, evolving, and becoming more than you were yesterday. Too often people settle for comfort, for routine, for the familiar patterns that keep life predictable and safe, and in doing so, they quietly sacrifice their own potential. True fulfillment comes when you make a deliberate choice to commit to growth, to invest in yourself in ways that challenge, stretch, and sometimes even scare you, because every meaningful transformation begins outside of comfort. Commitment to growth means showing up for yourself even when it's inconvenient, even when the work is hard, even when the outcome is uncertain. It is the understanding that who you are today is not who you are meant to be tomorrow, and that every decision you make, every skill you learn, every habit you cultivate, every challenge you embrace is a brick in the foundation of your future self. Growth requires discipline, consistency, and a refusal to accept mediocrity as a permanent state. It is about seeking feedback, confronting weaknesses, learning from failures, and turning setbacks into opportunities to rise stronger. The moment you commit to growth, you shift your focus from comfort to possibility, from avoidance to action, from fear to curiosity. You start asking yourself questions like, What can I do today to become a better version of myself? How can I stretch beyond what I think is possible? What lessons are hidden in the challenges I face? This commitment is not casual, it is relentless. It is waking up every day with the mindset that no matter how much you know, how skilled you are, how far you have come, there is always room to grow, to expand, to elevate every aspect of your life. Growth is uncomfortable because it pushes you beyond your limits, and that discomfort is not a sign to stop. It is proof that you are alive, that you are evolving, that you are moving closer to the person you were born to be. Committing to growth also means surrounding yourself with people, experiences, and environments that support your evolution, rather than those that reinforce stagnation. It is choosing challenges over excuses, learning over certainty, action over hesitation. And as you continue on this path, something remarkable happens. You start to see the exponential impact of consistent growth. Small, deliberate actions compound, and before you know it, the life you once imagined becomes not just possible, but inevitable. The commitment to growth is a promise to yourself that you will not settle, that you will not accept limitations imposed by fear, doubt, or circumstance, and that every day you will do something that stretches your capacity, sharpens your mind, strengthens your character, and propels you forward toward the extraordinary life that exists just beyond the boundaries of comfort. Action is the bridge between dreams and reality. You can plan, visualize, and hope all you want, but without action, nothing changes. Too many people spend their lives waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for conditions to be ideal, waiting for confidence to arrive, and in that waiting, life slips by. The truth is, action is not just doing, it is deliberate, massive, consistent doing that moves you toward your goals and defines the trajectory of your life. Ownership is inseparable from action B, because unless you take full responsibility for your results, you will always be at the mercy of circumstances, other people, and chance. When you own your life fully, you understand that your successes, your failures, your happiness, and your growth are all the products of your choices and actions. This mindset shift changes everything. Instead of blaming setbacks or waiting for someone to hand you an opportunity, you step forward, you make things happen, and you create your own momentum. Taking action requires courage, commitment, and clarity. You must know what you want, be willing to move toward it every single day, and refuse to let fear, doubt, or distraction hold you back. Action is not always easy, and it is not always glamorous. Often, it is messy, uncomfortable, and demanding, but that is exactly why it separates the average from the extraordinary. Every time you take ownership and act, you gain confidence, you gain clarity, and you build evidence that you are capable of creating results in your life. This is how momentum is created. The first step is always the hardest. The second step builds courage, and as you keep moving forward, progress compounds. Ownership also means being accountable to yourself. It means no excuses, no blame, no waiting for someone else to fix things or make things happen. It means asking the hard questions. What can I do differently? What choices am I making that serve me, and what choices are holding me back? How can I step up right now, today, to create the life I want? When you combine action with ownership, you become unstoppable. Obstacles no longer define you, they challenge you, shape you, and push you to find solutions. Failure is no longer a threat, it becomes feedback, a guide, a teacher. You stop living reactively and start living proactively, taking charge of your destiny instead of letting circumstances dictate it. Every small step, every decision to move forward, every moment of commitment builds the muscle of ownership and the momentum of action. And the beauty is that the more you act, the more empowered you feel, the more capable you become, and the more the universe responds with opportunities, resources, and breakthroughs. This is the essence of a life fully lived, where you do not wait, you do not hesitate, you do not settle, but instead you rise up, you step into responsibility, and you create results that reflect the power, potential, and purpose that exists within you.